The first laugh crossed the ballroom before Emma Ellison could make her fingers release the plum clutch. Emma was a Black senior director of international luxury events, standing inside the gala she had created while her boss accepted the praise. Ethan had promised a surprise. He carried a ring toward the stage, knelt beneath Emma's chandelier, and offered it to Vivian Cho instead. When Vivian turned the betrayal into a joke, executives laughed because they believed Emma had no power. Security moved toward her. Emma removed her employee badge, placed it beside the stolen design, and chose to leave with her dignity intact. Then Kang Min-jae rose. Seoul knew the Korean Mafia boss as the Silver Wolf, the silver-haired man whose black dragon tattoo climbed the left side of his neck. He crossed the marble floor, offered Emma his hand without touching her, and waited for her choice. He knew whose name belonged on every page. He also carried contracts bearing Emma's signature on payments she had never approved. The boyfriend's betrayal had opened a door into something much larger, and Emma was about to decide who could walk through it beside her. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. The deep plum place card tore between Emma Ellison's fingers. She replaced it before the florist saw, realigned the silver menu, then crossed the Vesper Crown service corridor toward a crash loud enough to stop 3 banquet carts. Mr. Han stood beside a broken sculpture crate while invoices slid across the floor. Vivian Cho reached him first. "You damaged a commissioned piece." She held the cracked porcelain by its base and summoned a supervisor with one raised finger. Mr. Han bowed, apologizing for an accident he had not caused. Around them, cooks and coordinators lowered their eyes. Emma picked up the delivery sheet. The damage box already carried a driver's notation. The sculpture arrived cracked. Vivian's smile tightened. "Stay with your flowers." Emma walked to the wall monitor, rewound the security feed, and froze the image of 2 movers unloading the broken crate. "He never touched it," Emma said. The supervisor read the timestamp. Vivian released Mr. Han with a warning, as if mercy belonged to her. Emma crouched and gathered his papers. "Never apologize for what you didn't do." At the far end, a tall stranger in a dark coat watched. Kang Min-jae had entered through the hotel's private service route to inspect an investment nobody knew he might cancel. He noticed Emma's employee badge, then the way she returned to work without searching for praise. Minutes later, her folder slipped open near him. He caught it before the pages scattered. Every proposal inside carried Emma's name and creation date. Min-jae handed it back. "Your work?" She glanced at the ballroom diagrams and smiled. "For tonight, yes." He studied the deep plum color key. She thanked him, mistaking the Silver Wolf for another reserved hotel guest. 3 nights later, Emma stood inside the finished ballroom and repaired another place card. White flowers floated above black glass tables. Chandeliers warmed the cream walls, while Seoul burned blue beyond the windows. Every detail matched the folder Min-jae had seen, including the plum accents no executive had approved until they succeeded. A journalist stopped Vivian beside the stage. Whose vision was this? Vivian touched one pearl earring and answered, "I wanted restraint with emotional depth." Emma heard from 6 feet away. Vivian accepted the compliment, then handed Emma an empty water glass without interrupting the interview. Ethan Cole found Emma near the entrance. His navy suit was new, and his burgundy tie matched the ring box shape pressing against his pocket. After the opening speech, he whispered, "Stay where I can see you." He touched her shoulder and looked past her toward Vivian. Emma smoothed the plum gown he had given her months earlier. For once, she let the future form a picture. Ethan kneeling, the room applauding, Vivian forced to recognize her. The quartet stopped. Vivian stepped to the microphone, and Ethan moved toward the stage before his name was called. He removed the ring box under the center chandelier. Emma's hand rose to her mouth. Several colleagues turned toward her, already smiling. Ethan opened the box, but his body pivoted away. He crossed the final steps to Vivian and lowered himself onto one knee. "You understand the life I deserve," he told Vivian. "Will you marry me?" Her practiced surprise lasted one breath. Then she offered her left hand. Applause started near the board's table and spread unevenly, colliding with the silence around Emma. Jiun stared at Ethan, then at Emma. Someone whispered that Ethan still kept clothes in Emma's apartment. Vivian followed the whisper to its source and found Emma beside the doors. "Emma has always been excellent at creating happy endings for other people," she said into the microphone. The first laugh came from an investor who wanted Vivian's favor. 2 executives joined him. Soon the sound crossed the ballroom, thin and obedient. Emma set her clutch on a table before her fingers crushed it. Ethan rose beside Vivian and watched the room use Emma as entertainment. Emma reached the side of the stage after the cameras turned away. "When did you end us?" Ethan kept his smile for the guests. "Months ago." His key still sat in her kitchen bowl. His shirts occupied her closet. "You came home yesterday," she said. "Don't make tonight ugly." Ethan adjusted his cuff with the hand that had accepted Emma's help on every presentation. Vivian descended the steps and slipped her arm through his. "This is why advancement has been difficult for you, Emma. You confuse emotion with professionalism." Vivian signaled 2 security officers. "Remove her before she embarrasses the company." Emma looked at the ballroom she had built, then unclipped her employee badge. She placed it beside the untouched place setting at Vivian's table. "You can keep the title," she said. "You cannot keep my name." One chair moved behind the most important table. Kang Min-jae rose in his black suit, every long sleeve precise, and the laughter failed without anyone asking it to stop. Board members lowered their eyes. Dae-sung remained seated, while Min-jae crossed the marble floor alone. Min-jae stopped before Emma and extended his hand without touching her. The black dragon on his neck surfaced above his collar when he inclined his head. He left the distance between them for her to close. Emma studied his open palm, then placed her hand in it. He led her to the center aisle. "Who created this gala?" Vivian answered from the stage. "My executive team." Min-jae opened the original proposal Emma had dropped days earlier. Her name, timestamps, vendor notes, and revision history appeared on every page he turned. Myeongsong Holdings will not invest in a company that steals from its employees. Vivian's face emptied. Min-jae looked toward the guests who had laughed. "You were entertained because you believed she had no power. That misunderstanding has cost this company more than any of you can afford." Nobody laughed now. Ethan stared at Emma's hand inside Min-jae's and finally understood whose signature controlled the expansion he had expected to inherit. Min-jae released Emma the moment she steadied herself, then placed a second folder on the black glass table. The signature on those contracts was hers. The approvals were not. Dae-sung closed the smoked glass door, while Emma remained standing beside Min-jae's evidence table. The Han River moved below the windows. Across the table, 5 contracts carried her electronic signature beside vendor names she had never seen. She reached for the nearest page instead of the offered chair. "These payments entered Jang Suk-ho's companies," Min-jae said. He turned a laptop toward her. "Either you authorized them or someone built a trail toward you." Emma compared the dates. Each transfer had been approved during an event crisis, when her legitimate authorizations arrived by the dozen. She enlarged the signature block. "This certificate number expired last year." A second contract used the same tiny spacing error. Someone had copied a saved image, then attached fresh metadata. Ethan controlled vendor payment access. Vivian controlled the charity foundation that released the money. Min-jae offered protection and access to his financial investigators. Emma closed the laptop. I found out tonight that 2 people used me. I won't become useful to a third. Dae-sung shifted near the door. Min-jae's expression remained still. Then define the arrangement yourself. Emma counted the terms on her fingers. No threats against employees. Lee Hae-won receives admissible evidence. I know every danger you know, and nobody decides where I go without my permission. Min-jae accepted each condition before she finished explaining it. Dae-sung's eyebrow scar lifted. You negotiate with everyone this way? Min-jae asked. Emma took the contracts. Only men who mistake resources for consent. Dae-sung opened the door to hide a brief smile. Min-jae moved the chair aside, giving her an unobstructed path out. Tomorrow, then, on your terms. The next morning, Emma's access card flashed red on the Vesper Crown executive floor. Her company email had vanished. Through the glass, employees removed her name from a presentation board. Ji-eun appeared beside the elevator, pressed a service key into Emma's palm, and nodded toward the back corridor. They entered Vivian's office, while a staff meeting filled the opposite wing. Emma found empty project folders and a locked drawer. Ji-eun opened a cabinet of archived place cards. She made us delete your name before every executive review, she whispered. I kept the printed versions. Emma pulled a labeled backup drive from inside an old floral sample box. Original budgets, supplier messages, and revision histories survived on it. Footsteps crossed the corridor. Ji-eun returned to her desk while Emma left through the service doors with the drive pressed inside her plum coat. By noon, the drive glowed on 3 screens in Min-jae's office. Emma arranged legitimate invoices along the left side of the evidence table and fraudulent ones along the right. The false vendors repeated every 90 days, always below the threshold that triggered board review. They hid theft inside my workload, she said. The ghost invoices borrowed descriptions from real events, but service dates landed after venues had closed. Min-jae watched her mark the pattern in plum ink. She had become valuable to the conspiracy precisely because her records were exact. Dae-sung announced that a security team would follow Emma home. She put down the pen. We discussed this. Min-jae dismissed the team before Dae-sung could defend it. 1 car nearby during immediate risk, Emma said. And I know its position. Min-jae changed the order word for word. That evening, Dae-sung drove while Emma and Min-jae sat apart in the night sedan. Passing signs moved cold teal across his black suit. Every sleeve stayed lowered and exact. Emma noticed an old photograph inside his folio. 2 brothers stood at a riverside terminal, sharing the same severe eyebrows. He trusted the wrong ally, Min-jae said. His older brother had died before Min-jae inherited the organization. Fear became the system he used to keep everyone close. Emma watched rain travel across the window. Fear keeps people near you. It doesn't make them loyal. The next night, Ethan waited outside Emma's apartment with his navy jacket buttoned and every sleeve intact. He entered only after she left the door open behind him. Vivian manipulated me, he said. Give me the backup drive, and we can leave Seoul before this becomes worse. Emma placed herself between Ethan and the work table. You didn't leave because I wasn't enough. You left because my strength showed you what you refused to become. Ethan's mouth tightened. He warned that Min-jae was dangerous. Min-jae never lied about what he is, she answered. I still love you. Ethan reached for her hand. Emma stepped back. You want rescue, not forgiveness. She refused to destroy anything. When she turned to lock the backup drive inside a drawer, Ethan photographed a contract page, visible beneath the warm pendant light. Vivian released the photograph with edited footage of Emma entering Min-jae's penthouse. By morning, headlines called Emma an opportunist who pursued an investor after losing Ethan. Vesper Crown's statement blamed her dismissal on misconduct. The same laughing ballroom clip returned beneath every article. Min-jae placed 3 lawyers on speaker. Emma ended the call. I won't replace Vivian's voice with yours. She booked her own interview and carried the original project folio into the Seoul broadcast studio. Min-jae stayed behind the control booth glass, present, because she permitted it. Under white panels and blue monitor light, Emma opened the metadata on camera. She showed her original concepts, Vivian's renamed copies, and the sequence that stripped her credit before each board review. Professional theft created the darkness where financial theft could grow, she said. She refused to discuss the sealed investigation and refused to apologize for meeting Min-jae. The host asked whether his power had saved her. Emma looked at her own name on the monitor. Evidence opened this door. I walked through it. In the booth, Min-jae lowered the lawyer's unused statement. Before Emma left the chair, the studio inbox filled with messages from former employees. Mr. Han offered his delivery records. Ji-eun offered the deleted presentations. Lee called to say 3 witnesses had requested interviews. The scandal was no longer about a discarded girlfriend. It was becoming a map of fraud. Emma crossed the empty ballroom with a cardboard portfolio braced against her hip. Vesper Crown had agreed to release her final design materials after the interview, provided she came after midnight. The chandeliers remained on, but every black glass table stood bare. Her heels returned a smaller version of the old laughter. Min-jae stepped from the center aisle before she reached the stage. His black suit held the same exact lines as gala night, sleeves fully lowered, while Dae-sung waited beyond the closed doors. I asked him to stay outside, Min-jae said. You said privacy was your decision. Emma set down the portfolio. I still hear them. Min-jae looked toward the place where the investors had laughed. They borrowed Vivian's cruelty because they thought it was shelter. He faced Emma again. Remember the sound. Just stop letting it tell you who you are. He extended his hand as he had on gala night. This time, there were no cameras, contracts, or witnesses. Emma closed the distance. Min-jae guided one slow step beneath the chandelier, then waited until she chose the second. They moved without music across the black marble. Emma's curls brushed his shoulder when she looked up. Min-jae paused before touching her waist. She answered by drawing closer. Their first kiss was brief, gentle, and interrupted by his deliberate step backward. Emma caught his hand. The second kiss belonged to both of them. By morning, Vivian had sent a message from an unlisted number. She offered the original signature logs and claimed they could clear Emma completely. The meeting would happen in a private conference room at Vesper Crown. Emma forwarded the message to Min-jae before she answered. It is a trap, he said in the penthouse office. Emma clipped a location beacon inside her plum coat. Then we document the trap. They agreed on the main corridor. Dae-sung 2 minutes away, and Lee ready to receive an encrypted transfer. Min-jae disliked every condition and honored each one. At the hotel, an electronic sign redirected Emma from the agreed conference room to the underground level. She stopped before the service elevator. 2 unfamiliar men stood beside its doors, their faces matching photographs in Lee's file on Jang Suk-ho. Neither wore a Vesper Crown badge. Emma turned toward the stairs as if checking a message. One man followed. The other spoke into his sleeve. She entered the Vesper underground service level and used a linen cart to block the shortest passage behind her. Her knowledge of the hotel became a map they lacked. At the next junction, she pulled a reinforced fire door across the corridor. The first man reached it before the latch caught. Emma drove the crash bar down with both hands, locked the magnetic hold, and moved while his shadow struck the wired glass. She reached the glass-fronted security room and entered Ji-eun's old emergency code. CCTV screens woke across the wall. The second man appeared beside the service elevator, scanning the crate lanes. Emma connected her backup drive and opened Lee's secure transfer portal. The upload stalled at 73%. Emma switched the feed to a wired terminal, then dragged transaction maps, signature certificates, and vendor records into one evidence package. Her hand hovered over the building alarm. The first man forced the fire door wide enough to enter the junction. Emma pressed the red panel. Alarm lamps pulsed across the concrete level, elevator doors locked open, and security shutters divided the loading bays. She sent the final file as the transfer reached 100%. Lee's confirmation appeared before the control room handle moved. Min-jae and Dae-sung arrived through the loading entrance. They found one man trapped between shutters and Emma standing behind the locked control room door with her phone raised. The second man escaped through a ramp, but his face, route, and vehicle plate remained on 3 recorded feeds. Dae-sung secured the trapped man for hotel police. Min-jae reached Emma, stopped a full step away, and waited for her nod before touching her shoulder. His jaw remained tight. "You came to rescue me," she said. "You appear to have handled the essential portion," Dae-sung answered. Min-jae watched the escape vehicle vanish on a monitor. He ordered Dae-sung to prepare every Chungrung team near Jang's properties. The quietness of his voice made the command heavier. Emma stepped between him and the screen. "That destroys the evidence and puts workers in the middle." "He sent men after you." Min-jae's neck tattoo sharpened when he turned. Emma held his gaze. "Our agreement mattered before you were angry. It matters now." Dae-sung waited beside the alarm panel. Min-jae could choose vengeance in one sentence or trust through silence. He canceled the order. Dae-sung notified Lee instead and transferred the feeds. Min-jae's hands remained open at his sides. Every long jacket and shirt sleeve stayed fully lowered, intact and symmetrical. "Your plan," he said. Emma heard the cost inside those 2 words. Vivian struck before sunrise. Vesper Crown filed an emergency ownership claim over Emma's portfolio, freezing the savings she planned to use for a studio. The Korean Luxury Events Council suspended her accreditation review. News sites paired the filing with the old clip of the ballroom laughing. 3 prospective clients canceled by noon. A landlord withdrew a studio offer. Emma sat at her apartment work table while unread messages brightened the room. She removed Ethan's key from the kitchen bowl and placed it inside an envelope, then kept sorting the evidence Lee could still use. Min-jae arrived with lawyers and an offer to replace every frozen one. Emma left the documents untouched. "If you buy back what Vivian took, she still decides the terms of my life." He wanted to erase the damage. She needed him to witness it without turning her pain into his authority. Emma gave Lee the final archive and asked Min-jae for one night alone. After he left, she stood beneath the apartment's amber lamp with her portfolio sealed by court notice and her account locked on the screen. The evidence was safe. Her name, career, and future were not. Ethan pressed record before Vivian entered her office. His phone rested beneath a marked budget while blue monitor light crossed the desk. "You said Emma would take the fall," he began. Vivian closed the locked drawer and told him to erase the remaining foundation records before midnight. "And if I refuse?" Ethan asked. Vivian leaned over the pale stone desk. "Then Jang receives proof that you designed the transfers." Ethan's hand slipped from the phone. Vivian noticed the moving timer reflected in his silver watch and understood that fear had finally made him disloyal to her. She called Jang after Ethan left. By the time Ethan reached the parking level, a black sedan waited beyond the barrier. He ran back through the lobby and called the only person he had trained himself to exploit. Emma answered, heard his breathing, and transferred him directly to Lee. Lee placed Ethan inside the Prosecutor Lee interview room under formal protection. Emma attended through the observation glass. She offered no promise of forgiveness, only a lawful statement and the chance to surrender the recording. Ethan unlocked his phone. "Vivian never loved me," he said. Emma kept her eyes on the evidence bag. The recording carried more than a threat. Vivian explained that she had selected Emma as the company's perfect scapegoat years earlier because Emma's immaculate approval archive made copied signatures credible. Ethan named the certificate file he had stolen. Jang's shell companies appeared in the same conversation. That evening, Vivian convened an emergency shareholders' reception in the Vesper Crown Grand Ballroom. White flowers returned to the black glass tables, but the deep plum cards were gone. Vivian stood beneath the center chandelier and blamed two disloyal employees for exploiting her foundation and deceiving investors. The ballroom doors opened before she reached Ethan's name. Emma entered in her deep plum gown with her portfolio under one arm. Min-jae walked beside her in his black suit, long sleeves lowered and exact, but he matched her pace instead of leading it. Every guest turned. Emma climbed the stage alone. Ji-eun connected a secured drive to the ballroom system. The screens displayed Emma's original proposals, creation dates, deleted name fields, and forged certificate numbers. Each fact appeared beside the source file Lee had authenticated. Vivian's microphone captured her first unsteady breath. Ji-eun entered from the aisle, carrying the printed presentations she had hidden. Vivian ordered us to erase Emma's name before every review. Former employees rose at 3 tables. Their accounts repeated the same method: steal the work, isolate the worker, then control the official record. Mr. Han brought the sculpture delivery sheet and 2 years of banquet logs. The ghost vendors had billed services on nights his kitchens were closed. He placed the pages beside Emma's portfolio. Vivian once threatened to fire him over a crack. Now his careful handwriting opened another line of proof. The screens went dark, then Ethan's recorded waveform appeared. His voice named the stolen certificate. Vivian's voice explained why Emma's precision made her useful. Ethan entered under investigator supervision and confirmed the recording. He never looked toward Emma. She never needed him to. Lee walked through the same doors with officers and a sealed order. She announced investigations into charity fraud, conspiracy, forged corporate records, and illicit transfers. Vesper Crown's board chair removed Vivian before the officers reached the stage. Her ivory tablet case slipped against the lectern and stayed there. Min-jae activated the integrity clause in Youngsung's investment contract. The acquisition offer ended immediately. Board members who had laughed began studying their empty glasses. Vivian tried to blame Ethan, but her own recorded words crossed every speaker in the room. Emma faced the guests. "You laughed because you thought losing a man meant I had lost my value." She placed both hands beside her name on the screen. "The only thing I lost that night was the illusion that any of you had the right to define me." No applause followed at first. Emma had not asked for it. Then Ji-eun stood, Mr. Han joined her, and the workers filled the silence on their own terms. Min-jae remained below the stage. He had opened a door. Emma had brought the truth through it. Across the river, Jang reached the Myeongsung shipping terminal with a passport and one locked case. The route belonged to Min-jae, and Jang expected old criminal rules to protect it. Instead, the checkpoint barrier lowered, while white floodlights revealed Lee's vehicles between the container lanes. Min-jae had given Lee the shipping manifests, access codes, and transfer ledgers needed for a lawful interception. The same records exposed 3 profitable Chungyong operations. Dae-sung warned him what they would lose. Min-jae signed the disclosure with both fully covered forearms resting beside the folio. Jang's sedan stopped before the barrier. Investigators closed the lane from both sides and removed the case without spectacle. Watching from the dispatch office, Min-jae chose evidence over an order that could never be taken back. The Silver Wolf surrendered territory and kept his word to Emma. Vivian was charged. Ethan cooperated and received a reduced sentence, but his career and reputation ended. His apology reached Emma with the returned apartment key. She read the letter once, sealed it again, and placed it in a drawer that no longer held any part of her future. Vesper Crown offered Emma an executive title to repair its name. She declined before the board finished speaking. During the next 6 weeks, compensation cleared her frozen account, Ji-eun assembled a staff, and Emma leased a renovated riverside warehouse. Min-jae invested as a minority partner under a contract denying him creative authority. At the Riverside Ellison house opening, every cream invitation and design board carried Emma Ellison's name. Mr. Han tasted the menu. Lee watched from a quiet table. Dae-sung inspected a flower arrangement with comic suspicion. Warm pendants filled the brick room, while blue river light crossed the glass doors. Min-jae arrived last in the same black suit, every sleeve long, lowered, intact, and symmetrical. He stopped before Emma and extended his hand. "May I have this dance?" Emma glanced at the guests. "Everyone is watching." His answer was quiet. "Then let them see that you chose." She placed her hand in his. This time, the room knew her name. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Who once claimed work carrying your name? Would you accept protection that cost your freedom to choose? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, justice, and chosen love, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.